The June 2024 meeting of the Alamance County Historic Properties Commission will come to order. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? And the very last thing before we adjourned was I said that I would reach out to Eric as opposed to react to Eric.
I thought it was just reek.
Yeah. Anytime Rodney and Eric get together, they reek. Okay.
I think there was a couple more
Yes.
corrections that he's already made.
So you've already found them.
Okay.
So I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? I've got the roll up here. Have you got it, Mr. Director?
I have it as well.
Okay,
Do not.
all right. Well, we got two, so then we'll make that official. All right, our old business was the report on the reeking or the reaching. So I'll let Mr. Gator speak to us about that.
Yeah, so I passed out some options that I thought were appropriate. Needless to say, I kind of like the scroll style. So, you know, the first two are just different colors of a scroll style. The second one's like a brass plate on the scroll style. The fourth one is actually like a shadow. So that's a really nice one. The fifth one is more of a modern, it's just an acrylic black. And then the sixth one is actually a satin aluminum with a black backing. Now, as far as the cost goes, for some reason, everything except four was around $100. Number four was $175. And we've got an option with each one of these to either put in our own certificate or actually get the certificate engraved. And we're probably talking about $100 for as the amount of characters we've got on the certificate. So we'd be adding $100 if we just engraved it on the plaque. So that's kind of where we're at there.
I recall we'd already approved the wording, right?
What's that?
Hadn't we already approved the wording?
Yes, we definitely have the wording. Yeah. Maybe I gave you too many options.
That's right.
If I came in here with one, said here it is, there we go.
Well, you'll know next time.
So, you know, just looking for thoughts on what style you think would be best and whether we want to use our own certificate or have it engraved. And I don't know how much money, do we have a certain amount approved already, or do you recall?
Oh, I absolutely recall.
Okay,
And the answer to that is yes.
okay.
And I'm gonna stop with that right there. Since this is broadcast around the world, the last time we elaborated on it, I got a phone call and I ain't do that anymore.
Okay,
Gail and I like number four. However, my question is, with number four, with the box, could we easily insert the plaque on the information that we already have and not have to have it engraved?
yes, yeah,
that
so
would help.
on any one of those, we could do that. So we could buy two, we're looking at two, right?
Correct.
So if we want to stay consistent, we can get two of those and put whatever certificate. And if the certificate sits sideways, the shadow box certainly can sit sideways also, so.
You can't necessarily do with like the scrolly type ones at the top. You can't.
You really can
I
actually,
guess you can,
so,
yeah.
yeah, so it doesn't sit on the table, it's actually a wall hanging, so it's either
Oh,
can be
okay.
from the top or the side.
I like the fourth one as well.
Yeah. I do too.
Well, I think that's a majority right there.
And not just because it's the most expensive.
But that does play into it.
No, it does, and it was a good looking one. So.
I want to add a question about the other word. Would the engraving be more visible or able to be read by someone who was looking at it versus say like number 4 or the ones that hold the actual, like a paper certificate?
Sure. Yeah, the paper certificate, I think, would definitely be easier to read, just the contrast of, you know, black on white, but, the gold engraving on black is pretty.
Absolutely is. I mean, I think 4 aesthetically is great.
All right. So let's talk about moving on 4. Now, would we rather have the engraving or the paper that we can slide in? I mean, obviously that'd be easier and less time consuming. You know, we're probably talking 8 weeks on something like this to get it engraved.
Do we have an example of what the paper would look like?
5 and 6 would be close.
Okay.
No, I'm not overstepping here.
No, not at all. I don't think I've ever seen the formal proclamation from here. I've seen the verbiage. I've seen one.
And I've got the official proclamation
Yeah,
at the house signed by the
okay.
county.
And it looks
commissioner.
similar
Well,
like that. Yeah.
well, the paper does.
Yeah. Okay.
So if it's written like this right
It
here.
is written vertical.
Yeah, it's written vertical.
Okay.
So if you slid it in
Yeah.
that right there, that'd work.
Okay.
I can pull them up if you like. I'm just setting them over myself. Here. Give me 1 second, I can pull those up.
While he's doing that, before we go to motions and seconds and all like that, let's do a consensus. Is everybody in agreement with number 4? Does anybody want other than number 4? And now the most important thing, are you all right with it, Ms. Hatton? Number 4?
She's the one that recommended her.
Just going to make sure I got it bases covered. I thought she was listening. That's how it reads.
Oh,
Quite wordy.
Since that one right there is already turned, yeah, there's a lot of words on it,
Yeah,
and putting that,
it would be tough to read. On the engraved unit, yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. I think you want something that looks pleasing, but then you want the message to be delivered.
Right.
So people understand why it's there, or the significance of their contribution.
well, make a motion and we get 2 number 4.
I move we get 2 number 4s
And put our own,
and put our own certificates in.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Now, does everybody understand what we're talking about? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? I'll let him know he's getting ready to spend some money. Okay, so we got that. Now, moving to new business, we'll talk about the Guthrie Dam first. So this is in fact a public hearing. So need to make that official.
I make a motion that we start the public hearing on the Guthrie Dam.
Okay,
I second.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're now officially in a public hearing to talk about the Guthrie Dam. Mr. Director,
Yes, sir.
do you want to bring everybody here up to speed as to what we're doing?
Sure, yeah, I'll
Okay.
just give a brief introduction as to kind of why we're doing this. So this is one of the many steps that is required that is required by North Carolina General Statute 160D-946 for the required landmark designation procedure. This is item 4 along that list. State law basically requires that the Preservation Commission and the governing board either hold a joint public hearing or hold independent public hearings. So this will be our first of 2. We'll have to have a public hearing on the commissioner's agenda as well. But in terms of the substance of the issue here, so this is an item that I believe the board first debated in February, if I recall correctly. And then with some revisions, brought it back up at a later agenda. You have approved this in general, but again, the public hearing portion of it is a technical portion of the review process. And that's why we're here tonight. So in terms of the required notice to the public, this did run twice in the Alamance News. Notice of tonight's hearing, and we did send mail to all adjoining and adjacent property owners.
Everybody clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is anybody here from the public that wants to speak on this, ask questions, make comments, or other? Yes, ma'am.
Question,
Okay,
do I just ask from here?
that's all right with me.
Okay. I'm gonna stand up, but that's okay. So my name is Vicky McBain and I am one of the residents of Mac Lane. And we just have some questions, about how this works. To reach the Guthrie Mill Dam, it is on private property, accessed by a private road that is maintained by the private residents. And so we have a little concern and questions as to affecting the traffic, affecting the maintenance of the road, because that is, personal expense for us. So if it becomes a historical landmark, are we required to make public access to the dam is the basic question that we have.
Okay,
Do you want to take that? Do you want me to take a stab at that?
you take a stab at it.
Yeah, and that really is an excellent question. So from my understanding, what this whole procedure is, it's really a designation that is specific to the property. And in this case, just a portion of the property that would be the dam. I actually did some research in state law on this prior to today's meeting. From what I have found, the only public marker that would be available, it says here, so this is General Statute 160D-945 for designation of landmark, and I'll be happy to send this to you as well. For each building, structure, site, area, or object to be designated as a historic landmark, the regulations shall require that the waiting period be set forth prior to demolition. And this is the important key, I think. For each designated landmark, the regulation may also provide for a suitable sign on the property indicating the property has been so designated. If the owner consents, the sign shall be placed upon the property. If the owner objects, the sign shall be placed on a nearby right of way. So I think the only authority granted would be a sign. I don't think that there's any notification to the public in general or placement on a list other than the county tax records and maybe the county GIS. I don't anticipate, I'm still relatively new to all this, but I don't anticipate that this would be like a similar to like a historic museum or like a highway marker or something that would generate additional traffic to the property. That's my understanding of it, and I'm happy to allow others to weigh in.
So for example, I live on the Thomas Holt Estate and we have a marker right at 49 and Holt Road. And it basically just says Thomas Holt Estate. The house was located 300 yards west of here. We've never had anybody come in our driveway to look,
So my guess about this would be, and Ms. Hadley probably can more authoritatively speak to it, but in the late summer, when the family reunions occur and the groups go around to look at the dam, the mill site, the barns, that kind of stuff, that's when you're gonna have some traffic, but it's gonna be very specific. And in the past, if you haven't noticed offense or deterioration to the road getting from Green Hill down there and back, I would be surprised if you did in the future. I'm in agreement with Matthew. It's a great question to ask because you just don't ever know what's coming up. And on this site, as we had talked earlier, there was some reorientation that occurred many, many years ago, and you'd have a lot better feel for whether that was positive or neutral or negative than I would, simply because of being right there. But I don't think this right here is gonna change if whatever's going on now. My guess is it's gonna be going on in the future on that same generic level. And now I yield to Ms. Hadley.
I do know that, George Dole, you know, what I'm talking about,
Yes, ma'am.
that, he's excited about the dam being designated. He agrees that the mill is not historic anymore because it's been renovated. But he has said that, that if the county commissioners do approve, that he said this is calling for an event. So his event is to have a potluck, to have Alba County's band, to play, and, just for a one time, and they invite some people from Guilford College to come, because there's a possibility that this property might be go to Guilford College at some point in the future. But that one event is what George would like for us to have if it is approved, so that would cause a little bit more traffic that day. And I know that Carol Guthrie we've had events there before where, Carol, I guess your mother-in-law.
Oh, she's banned.
Well, anyway,
Banned.
yes, I know Dan, so.
Yes.
Anyway, she's been there and, those events. And, Darren is aware of this, but I didn't realize I should be seeing Dan information too.
So Dan and Carol own the adjoining property jointly.
And Carol lives in the Miller's house. And
Yes,
That,
yes. And then the residents before the Doyle property begins, they're the ones that maintain gravel road, which is an expense. And we have had a lot of trouble with the traffic, people don't want to go slow. And we have small children and small animals on the road, and we just wanted to know, how this would affect, the everyday lives, I guess. And thank you, we weren't even aware that there could be an event, so this is, we're learning a lot.
I think your specific question was, will they be required to allow access based upon this being designated? I mean, can they deny access to that dam?
Can the people who own the road?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's private road, right?
It is a private road. The Doyle property does have an easement
Mhm.
to gain access to their property, through our private land. So I don't see that we could put a fence.
Okay, yeah.
But I would imagine that Mr. Doyle could, or future residents of that property could. I don't know. But you,
Okay, so I'm gonna meddle a little bit here. Do you have an arrangement, an agreement, some kind of official verbiage as far as your road maintenance? Or has it been in the past, we need to put some rock on the road, call Paul, let him bring the rock down, we divide up amongst X and pay?
I would believe it is B.
Okay, well, in my opinion, when we get to group together, the residents that maintain the private road, we need to loop George Doyle in on that, since he's using it. And if in the past, we've been taking the road maintenance cost and dividing it by 4, needs to be divided by 5, because he needs to pay an equal share to keep the road up, so that when the traffic's coming in and out, it's legitimate. Having an easement is a legal thing. Paying your fair share is the right thing to do. And when you talk to the road person, if the traffic's moving a little more swiftly, just tell them, say, put us 2 or 3 speed bumps in here. And-
They do, they build speed bumps into the gravel.
Okay, all right.
Unfortunately, they have to rake and maintain at least once a week, and so that's, you know, one of their concerns, but yes, they have built-in speed bumps and posted speed limit signs and, you know, mostly we just wondered how this, you know.
Yeah.
Not familiar with it.
The next step on that,
So I did not know.
with a gravel speed bump and then a sign, the next step in there is an armed guard to enforce the said speed limit. If you really.
I'm always a fan of toll booth.
Yeah, there you go. Toby.
And if you put them close enough together, that'll be speed control. Can't get going so fast. Okay. Has this answered the question? Do you have more questions?
That is the only question we have right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Anybody else? So we want to close the public hearing and then take action on this?
Yes, sir. And you should have, Mr. Chairman, 2 memorandi. To sign after approval. One is obviously for the Guthrie Dam and the other one is for the cemetery that we'll get to next. In our research of, these proceedings in the past, it looks like after the public hearing, the memo is signed and then the information is passed along to the county commissioners.
Okay,
So no other public comment. I move that we'll close the public hearing.
okay. So we've got a motion and a second to close the public comment. All in favor, aye? Public hearing. Opposed? Okay. All right. So now let's have a motion on this. Have we already made a motion on this? We need to,
Well, I think you did technically approve it for recommendation at a previous meeting, so maybe the proper motion here would be to acknowledge that approval and to approve the memorandum to be submitted to the commissioners.
All right, I move to. Now it's public hearing and the information provided and move forward with this memorandum to the county commissioners.
Second.
motion and a second. I'm not gonna repeat the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do y'all want me to read the memorandum? Is that a no?
Oh,
Okay, so now we're doing a public hearing on the Oak Grove Slave Cemetery, Village of Alamance.
all right. I move that we open a public hearing for comments on the Village of Alamance Oak Grove Slave Cemetery.
I second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we're now in a public hearing about the slave cemetery, Oak Grove in Village of Alamance, which we heard comments on last month. Buddy, got anything you want to add to that? Questions?
I'll just add, similar to the previous item, notice did run twice in the Alamance News, and we did mail letters to the adjoining and adjacent property owners notifying them of tonight's public hearing.
I believe this does have frontage, right, to a roadway?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. I think it is state law that you are required to give access to any cemeteries that are landlocked.
I remember something like that from one of the trainings a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we actually found one on the charter school site in Durham, undiscovered before. And yeah, that was one of the requirements from the state that they had to fence it off and provide access.
Mhm.
Ian, do you have the GIS aerial of the property?
It
We
should
that we
be-
brought up at the last meeting. There's a few photos.
There's a lot of it. It's off of Yorkshire Drive here. They have a GIS right here.
There you go,
So it's
yeah,
on this parcel here.
yeah. So
They
this is,
originally identified both.
yeah, it is within the village of Alamance. They had representatives at, the May meeting, and it's more or less at the intersection of Yorkshire and Brookstone Drive within the Glen, or Heritage Glen subdivision.
Oh, I moved, we closed the public hearing.
Second.
Go, got a motion to second, close the public hearing, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public hearing's closed.
Acknowledging no public comment. I move that we move forward, or I move we move forward with the memorandum to the county commissioners.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. This is what you call checking them off. Okay. Mr. Director. Do you have any announcements?
I don't really have any announcements. I think it might be worth mentioning that the Copland Fabrics recommendation was on the consent agenda for the county commissioners at their most recent meeting, signed by the chairman, and that will be on its way back to the state advisory agency for the National Registry of Historic Places. That's another item that the board considered at the last meeting, and I just offer that as a follow-up on that agenda item. But other than that, I don't have any announcements.
Okay. Well, we're certainly not setting a record tonight, but it's not quite 6:30.
You wanna hang around 4 more minutes or? I move we adjourn the meeting.
So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
See you, bye.
Tell my wife
Step
I'd be
over what you
surprised
wanna
in the
do.
last 20 minutes.
Well, today's my anniversary.
Oh,
So-
congratulations.
She